Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, welcome everybody. This is RustShip, the podcast for developers who ship Rust code. I'm your host, Marco Iani. I'm a Rust developer. I I worked with Rust since 2020, and in general, I enjoy talking with other people, especially with other developers, and especially about Rust. So I thought, why not starting a Rust podcast? And yeah, here we are. This is the first episode, and Orhun kindly accepted to be my first guest. Thank you so much. Orhun is an open source enthusiast. He is an Arch Linux package maintainer, and in general, he is the author of tens of open source projects which are used by many people, including me. Uh, so, Orun, thank you so much for being here. Uh, I don't want if you want to. I don't know if you want to turn off the fan if you think it does. It is okay and it's not doing too much noise. Uh, Apart from that, thanks for being here. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for this opportunity. I think starting a podcast is a great move, and I know that you've been working in the Rust and open source community for some time now, and I think you will rock it like totally. So yeah, and thanks for this, making me the first guest ever in the first episode. It's a great honor to be here. So yeah, thanks for everything. Um, So a little bit about me. If you come to the stream, you probably saw at least a couple of my open source projects. But in a nutshell, I've been creating open source projects and writing Rust for the past 3 to 4 years, and I've been very interested in systems programming and low-level programming. I've been using Linux, of course, and a couple of years ago, I was thinking to myself, I've been using Arch Linux for some time, and why not start contributing to it? And that's why I became a package maintainer there. And now I package Rust software. Uh, I work with different Rust command line tools daily. I work on my own tools. I try to create tools, libraries, etc. I just enjoy writing Rust. So yeah. Apart from that, uh, I think there's not much to say. We will get into detail, but I have some views on the open source development and open source communities, and I've been taking part actively for some time and pursuing to become a full-time open sourcer in the future if that's possible. So yeah, let's we will talk about
We
them
will
in
definitely get
yeah.
there. Yes. Yeah. In general, we will like to talk about what's like being an open source Rust maintainer. Uh, I mean, maintaining open source Rust projects. Then we will talk about open source sustainability, both like mentally and economically. And then we will also try to get some advices from Arun on increasing the adoption of our open source projects. And speaking about open source projects, can you give us a brief overview about the tens of Rust open source projects you maintain?
Yeah, sure. I think the prominent one is GitCliff. It's a changelog generator written in Rust. It's a command line application. Um, it is it is simply for the purpose of generating a changelog entry from your Git history and for customizing the format and shipping this changelog with your project. So it's something like a release helper tool, and I've been working on it for I think 2 years now, and there were a lot of feature requests, and I keep improving it. And it is I think the most start project of mine and the most popular one. Apart from that, I would like to I would like to talk about two categories of applications. First ones are the CLI tools, command line applications, and the second one is the TUIs, terminal user interfaces. CLI tools that I'm currently maintaining are, and I have a bunch of projects, but these are the ones that are stand out, and those are the Rust Paste. It's a upload server slash service application for simply sharing and file hosting. And I've been working on it, I think, for a year or so, or 1.5 years. I don't know. Um, I had a blog post about it recently where I deploy it to Shuttle. So yeah, that's something that I've been working on. There is Manuki, which is a screen capture slash screencast application for the command line. It's also written in Rust, and I'm currently using it almost every day. These tools, all of them, I'm using it because the reason why I create those projects in the first place is I need them. So yeah, this is for screen capture and Yuki. Um, there is one recent project that I created. It's called Help, HALP. It's for getting help for the command line applications. It's a it's a command line application for getting help about command line applications. You can just check out this project, and here's the logo. By the way, we have merchandise. We become prepared. Um, and moving on to TUIs, terminal user interfaces. Right now, I have three projects I currently maintain. Um, those are my first ever Rust project came on. It's a Linux kernel manager and monitoring tool. Um, GPG2i. It's for managing your GNU PG keys with a TUI. So it's a very straightforward application. I use it as well. There is Cysteroid. It's CCTL written in Rust, and it comes with a TUI as well. You can just manage the kernel parameters on a TUI. And lastly, there is one library for creating TUIs, and which was simply the TUI create, TUI-RS, and this was not maintained for a while, so we forked it and named it Ratatouille. So
Great
now,
name.
yeah, Ratatouille is someone came up with the name, and we have a cool logo as well. You can check it out. And I am currently one of the maintainers of the Ratatouille crate, which is basically what you would use if you want to create TUIs in Rust. So yeah, it's a great project. It's a great community project. So yeah, those are the ones that I would like to pinpoint for
So,
that question.
so many projects. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to say something about a thing you said, which is I created projects because I needed them, and I think that if you want to do a good project, there's no way to do it, no other way to do it right except for from using it. So, like, there is a term called dog fooding, which means using your own tools, and like it's a very easy way to do the stuff you create good. For example, git cliff is used by many people, but I guess you use git cliff to create the changelog of git cliff itself. And for example, I have a project which addresses the same area, like the releases area, which is called release please, and I use release please to release please itself. And like I caught so many bugs, so many uh, opportunities to help to improve the project. So uh, like using your own projects is a great advice, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Also, let's note that uh, we will have some talks at Rust Lab 2023. Marco and I will have different talks, but we will be cross-referencing the
Absolutely.
Git and release, please. So just as an announcement, it's in November if you want to check it out. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to ask, you have so many projects, right? I think you are a very creative person. So I think like you have many projects, but I guess you have more ideas than projects. So when you like wake up one day and say, "Oh, I have this incredible idea for a new open source project," how do you balance implementing this idea, creating it versus focusing on the projects you already have? And I think they need some time to be maintained and so on.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. When I have a new idea about creating something, I usually depends on the level of excitement. I either write it down to check it out later, or I just give some time to myself to think about this idea a little bit more. I play around with it, so to speak, and then when I have something concrete in my mind, I first look for the existing stuff, and if those are just if somebody else created what I just want to create, then I just go and use that. And if trying after trying out the tool or the thing, if I see something missing, I I you know I improve my idea upon that, or I transform my idea into something else that I think is exciting, and try to build it. Basically, it takes a lot of thinking, this process, because when you have a new idea, this doesn't happen too much, but it happens sometimes while you're, especially while you're working on something, you realize that there's this thing that I can build because I just need this thing now. So stopped, you just stop and think about the other thing, and sometimes stopping the development for the existing idea is better for building the other thing. For example, I was building GPG2i, and while I was doing that, I needed some tool to generate a changelog, right? I look at the existing tools. There was a couple of ones, but the usage was not really the way that I wanted, I would say. So I was like, I need I need a changelog generator. I just need it for my other project. So let me create a side project called Gitcliff, and I just did that in, I don't know, very short time, because it was supposed to be something simple, and pursuing that idea it turns out it's a better thing now, because Gitcliff is a bigger project than GPG2e. So yeah, it's it's something that is hard to balance when you have a lot of ideas. But if you have like more excitement for something, or if you think you need something more, then it is better to just switch and take some time to at least implement something working, something small, for that time period, I would say.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, yeah. So many successful projects I think started because they were working on something else and they realized that something was missing in their space, and so they created the tool that they were missing. Yeah, you're right. And so this was a question asked from Roy on Twitter, which is a young Rust developer, very capable. He asked, like, when, let's say that you have this idea and you decide that you want to build it. Okay, after a couple of weeks about thinking about it, how do you go from the idea to the implementation, and in general, how do you deal with the unknowns?
Um, so I would I always recommend starting small, because when you have ideas, those things can get big really easily. You think about something and you came up with another idea. You think like, let me add this, let me add that, and it is sometimes very overwhelming, but especially if you're starting a new project. So I would say start with the basics, the most known parts, and leave the unknown to the time, and just implement the basic things like the small thing, like a proof of concept basically. So if you want to create a changelog generator, just parse the git commits and you know just print them out. And you can think about the other things later. How do you format this? How do you do that? Just give yourself some time before trying to uh, chew something bigger than you cannot chew at the moment. You know, so I would say just start small. Don't push yourself too much to implement everything, and just be patient for those features, I would say.
I'm curious, do you usually do a plan? So, for example, if when you started GitCliff, you said, okay, milestone one, I just print the changelog. Milestone two, I think about the formatting. Or is it more a free flow of ideas and work?
I think I have like a basic plan, just a step by step plan, but not very detailed. So first parse the commits, then add some formatting, then support whatever. But I don't overthink it at that stage, because if I do that, it is just really hard to start a new project. You just have to YOLO it sometimes, and just let it flow, I would say.
Makes
That's what
sense.
I do, at least.
Yes. Also, YOLO is more fun as an approach. Huh.
Definitely.
Yeah. Also, sometimes I think that uh, starting new projects and taking a break from the ones you maintain is also a bit refreshing for your mind, and you can gain some energy from it. Yes. And so let's say that there is a young developer, or I don't know, even a developer who only works on his daily job, right? And they want to start an open source project for whatever reason. We will get to the reasons after. But what advice would you give to people that want to start an open source project and want that people see it, use it? So people want to start successful open source projects eventually.
Yeah. So for for people who want to start an open source project, and if this is your first project, I would say um, sometimes taking some pages from other people's book is a good idea. For example, go look for something similar to what you're building, and take some practices from there. For example, this could be about the documentation, the implementation, or how they structured the overall project, uh, and take some notes from them and try to uh, not replicate, but try to apply the same principle to your project. Because the most basic problem that people come across while starting a new project is, how do you structure the project? Where do you put the files? Well, how do you write these modules? How do you do that? So go look for something similar, or go to the language documentation that helps, and try to imitate those things, because those are already successful projects, and you can just take some pages from their book. For example, while I was working on my first ever Rust project, came on, I needed to create this GitHub Actions workflow file to release it on GitHub. And I have like no idea about GitHub Actions or releasing a project. I had some ideas, but not releasing a Rust project. So what did I do? I go to the ripgrep, which is a very popular tool, ripgrep repository. I checked out how they do it. I looked at their workflow file, and I just applied the same logic for my own project, and it just worked out of the box. So try to read some code, look at the similar projects, and don't really overwhelm yourself with ideas that are not really important. Don't just get stuck in the details, I would say, and try to finish it. It's not really possible to finish a project because it's a process and you keep working on it. But at least try to release the first version uh, and make it something usable, and just don't force yourself too much. And as I always say, start small. And I don't know, something that I did was I was uh, especially when I was too busy with life in I don't know, a couple of years ago, I was planning to like every time I came home, I wanted to add this little feature to my project. I don't want to like work on fully. I just want to do this little thing, and step by step you finish or get close to finishing the project. So that was some technique that I used back in the day. Maybe you can also try that. And for the other part of the question, I think it was about people who want to reach more people with their open source project, or what's the other part?
Yeah, in general, yeah, let me add something to it, to that, to what you said, because I think that those are great advices. Especially, I think start small is a great one. So I think the best thing is picking a small project. So something as your first project, something really small, easy to do, but that some people find useful, right? And try to publish it on Reddit, Hacker News, your socials, and see what other people thinks. If you want, you have an ambitious project, and you can't, and it's not simple to do, right? I don't know. It takes 6 months, for example, to finish. I would say uh, divide it into milestones, as we were saying before, and so start with something that a really simple proof of concept, as you were saying, and start publishing it. See the people feedback, because ask your friend to give you feedback, because like what you think about the project is not what other people think about it. So seek for people feedback, because it will change probably the design of the project in the future. And you can open GitHub issues with your future plans, and maybe people that are interested can help you with those. Who knows?
I would like to add something to something that you said. You said publishing on Reddit, Hacker News, and stuff like that. I think, especially if you're getting into open source and you're about to publish your first ever project, I think social media and understanding how this works is very important, because it might end up in two ways. One of them is you share your project, you get good feedback, and you just be happy. And the second one is you don't get the feedback you wanted, and you feel like this was a waste of time, this was not worth it, and you just give up. And for that, I think having social media accounts and knowing some tricks is very important. For example, Hacker News is still a mystery to me. Sometimes
Me too.
some yeah, I think it's a mystery for everyone. Sometimes you share something, it ends up in the front page. Sometimes you feel like, yeah, this is going to be it. This project will definitely going to be in the front page, and you share it, and you get no upvotes, no nothing. So don't get too stuck on these things, because internet is sometimes working in mysterious ways. For example, Hacker News, there are some time slots. I just heard this from someone who is working at a company that Y Combinator is backing. So yeah, this is not. I don't remember the time slots, but if you post something between those times, there is a high chance that you will end up in the front page. But you just have to do it at the right time. I'm not sure if this is something like a, I don't know, something that is not real, but feels like there are some timing timing tricks that you can do. For example, posting on Reddit on a certain day would uh, get your project more views, for example, or planning your planning the planning your day for sharing something at a certain hour, or scheduling some tweets. Some social media tricks is really important, because you never know which project of yours will get what attention, um, if you're not really in this social world. And there's something that uh, Jack Conti said. He is the CEO of Patreon. He says that one of his talks, he mentions that world is made of funnels. So more that you produce, more chance that you have get successful at it. So, for example, if you publish 10,000 songs, there's a high chance that one of your songs will be popular. And it's the same with the open source world. More that you work and more that you share, there's a high chance that you will be successful. So don't get sad if your first ever project gets no stars, gets no attention. Try to work on it. Try to improve it. Try to get more feedback from people, and it's really it's something like a hustle. It is not something that you will just get easily. There are some projects that are very big on GitHub, but you just look at them and go like, this. I worked on my project more. How this project is more successful? How this is better? It's not about being better. It's just improving yourself and learning things and having fun. So let's. I would say don't overthink it too much and just keep working.
Yeah. Another approach that I want to suggest is, like, instead of working on your project and then when it's finished after 3 months, you post a message. There is another strategy, which is great, I think, which is building in public. So you document what you're doing, you document your learnings day by day, and you share it with the community. And sometimes it's crazy the thing you can achieve with this, because people want to learn from you, right? If you have something interesting to share, they will listen to you, and probably they can also suggest how to make your projects even better, right? So for example, you write about the struggle you have, and people maybe they can comment, oh, I solved it by doing this and that. So uh, don't start talking about your project when it's done, but doing also but post while you do it is also a great strategy, I think, to get attention, and also to it's a great thing to share what you learn. Yes. So we can jump at this point at the second part of the question, which is, say that you already have your project, it's working, maybe you finished the 100% of it, but nobody's using it. It has, I don't know, 3 stars on GitHub. How do you make your world aware of your project?
As I said, I think using social media is important. Reddit, Twitter, Mastodon, um, I don't know, Blue Sky, Threads, all of these platforms. I was in a point where I really hated using social media, but it is very, very important for getting things out to world. And also I think this is something. Um, it's not like a very good way to share it, but there are some lists like awesome Rust projects list, for example, or awesome command line list. There you can just contribute to them, show that you built this project, or you can go to the similar projects and reach out to the maintainers and get some feedback and improve your project upon that. Uh, Release the new version, keep working on it. So yeah, I think finding the right audience for your project is the way to get more people to see what you have built, I would say.
Yeah. Maybe you can also talk about your project in public. So, for example, proposing a talk about it on local meetups, online meetups, conferences. So yeah, in general, nobody will share your project. You need to do it. So I mean, it can happen that somebody shares it, but you need to be the first one on the line. Absolutely, yes. And so, apart from starting being more active on social media, uh, what what skills do you think a, a developer who wants to work on open source on his own open source projects needs to have, apart of course from the technical skills?
I think uh, having a good communication skill is very important because you are building something, uh, and it's open. Anyone can just go to your project and submit an issue, or you can get some idea from anyone else via some communication channel. So having a good communication with them is very important because someone else can think something that you haven't thought of, and understanding them and maybe cooperating them to build this is uh, is very important. There are some examples where someone says something good about your project, and if you take it in the wrong way, you can uh, you can just have an unnecessary argument, and maybe you lost a potential contributor to your project. So communication is very important because this is a community, and um, you working with people, although you don't know any of them, or you don't have personal connections with them. Everyone is volunteer, so uh, we should have a good communication with people, I would say.
Definitely. I would also add to that you should have basic technical writing skills. You so if you want that other people understand your and use your project, you should write some documentation for it. And you need at the beginning you need to understand that other people don't have don't have the same knowledge as you have of your project. So you should see yourself from the perspective of other people and write documentation as if it's the first time you see your project, which is really difficult. And I think one way to improve the documentation of your project is again to ask for feedback, like for example, somebody on my project, Release Please, said I opened the GitHub discussion saying hey, can this be used from CI? And I was like, wow, it's written all over the places in the docs. In the README, it wasn't written. It was written in the docs and so on. So I was instead of saying I don't know, read the docs and that's it. I said, what was your path to how did you read the release splits docs? Because this info is written here, but how did you miss it? And like he explained that if he skimmed, of course, the docs, but that there was one title in the docs that if it was called like CI or GitHub Actions, it was more clear. And so I did two things. I added this info in the README and in the docs. And nobody opened a similar issue since then. So hopefully I improved that part. So yeah, definitely listen to your users. Now I want to make a weird questions to you because like everybody in open source tells you that you should contribute to open source to give back to the community because for example you use so much open source projects both in your personal life and at work, right? You do your job thanks also to many open source libraries, but let's say that you don't care about any of that. So let's say that you are a selfish person. Why a selfish person should contribute to open source in your opinion?
That's a good question. So let's say you're someone who is who doesn't care about the community, doesn't care if contributing to open source is good and in any way. So let's say that someone like this exists. I hope it's not, but um, let's assume that. So from that perspective, I think solely for the purpose of learning something and having fun is enough to contribute to open source. Because when you do that, you get some feedback and review from people that will improve your programming skills and improve something about you. So that's a plus. Maybe there's this issue that you worked on. You wrote some code, you write this function, and you created a PR, and someone else will come and say that you can just simplify this like this, and now you learn something. So I think that's very valuable because having the view of some other people is very important to improve what you already know, and that's uh, that's that's why a selfish person should just go and contribute. And also, it's fun, the projects and I mean, contributing to something that you personally use is especially fun because you see the effect directly. Let's say you using this tool and you needed to do something specific, but you realized this feature is not there. You just go there and contribute, and you now have this feature and you built it. I mean, it's a very very good satisfaction. It makes you happy, and now you added something to this tool. I think a so selfish person would definitely do that because I mean it's for themselves, right? They need this feature. They go there, contribute, and they now have this feature. So yeah, uh, that's I would say.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. Also, like imagine that you want to get your code reviewed by someone else, especially someone that is an expert in your field. Like you need to find it, you need to pay it. Instead, uh, if you find a library that you use at work, for example, and you add the feature, you fix an issue. First of all, you know more about that library, and so you are more effective at your daily job. And also, the person who is maintaining that library will review your code. So it's going to say, okay, this part you can make it better. So it will teach you also something while doing the review. So the learning is definitely one of the reasons to contribute to open source. And there is also another one, I think, which is to build your status in a way. So when you, for example, when you apply for a job, right? Some jobs check if you have a GitHub account and check if you have open source projects, if you contribute, and so showing that you contribute to open source and that, I don't know, your project is successful, or if you have many closed PRs on successful projects, will make you stand out, I think, with respect to the other candidates.
Yeah, definitely. As a personal experience, every job that I have had so far, everyone reached me out because of my GitHub profile, because I can basically reference that I can write Rust, I can build certain things. So it's a great reference. Otherwise, I would have to deal with, proving myself to them. Although almost every company wants me to write something simple, gave me a challenge. But yeah, I don't know.
It's another discussion.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah, definitely, yes. So cool. Now I'd like to talk about open source sustainability. So first question I have for you is, uh, in general, how do you see living off by just doing open source today? How hard is it? And I mean, not not for you especially, but say somebody wants to do it. What?
I think it is pretty hard. There are a couple of people who managed to do this, but they do it in a way that um, their job is actually being an influencer, because having controlling the social media in a way that you are now making money from open source is very hard. You need to do more things. For example, there is Faster Than Lime, with now I think he is living off by open source and nothing else. He is creating videos, writing blog posts, which they are just very long, 1 hour blog posts about technical depth of something. So just by writing code and contributing to projects, I think it is something very hard. You need to have a little bit of like an influencer side, try to produce more content outside of open source, but related to open source. For example, uh, in my current flow, if I keep creating projects, I see that I can get sponsors, but in a way that is not enough. So I'm trying to write blog posts, share different kinds of information on social media, try to be more active on these platforms so that I can get more sponsors and just live off my open source fully. But just by creating projects, I think it is very hard. You need to be a part of a community, or you need to lead a community, or you need to be a part of a very big open source project. And in that sense, it could be possible. But the short answer is I think it is very hard today. What do you think?
I also think it's very hard indeed, and I agree that you should be active on your socials. You should, because you can reach more people, and like if you reach more people, you're you can say that, for example, you have a GitHub sponsor and so on, but at the same time you can also share your project more, and so your project will become more successful also. Yeah. Or other, like I can think of some exceptions where like you built a project that is so good, it's so uh, sent, like it's so at the heart of an ecosystem that companies will sponsor you and so on. But I can think really a few exceptions. Yeah, other people that I know that live by open source, they have a social media presence. Yes.
Yeah, and I remember there are a couple of projects which which got pretty big pretty quickly in the open source communities, but actually turning them into something profitable is a whole different story. Even though you have built something at the very heart of ecosystem, that will require some work to actually turn it into a product. You know, you need to turn a project into product to sell it or get sponsors is just something. It is something else. So yeah, that's why it is very hard.
Do you have any plan to turn some of your open source projects, such as I don't know GitCliff, into a product?
Yeah, especially GitCliff. I am planning to build something um that is related to it, and I'd like to monetize it in a way that I am comfortable, because of course, I still want it to be open source, but there are some things that you can do at that point. You can close source. You can have a closed source version of it where you have some other features or something. Um, you can make it freemium. You can, I don't know. There are a couple of ways I would say. So yeah, definitely about GitCliff, I'm planning some things, but still have to sit down and write the code for this, and I didn't really have the time yet. So yeah.
I see. And yeah, apart from monetizing, try to monetize your projects. I think you are on GitHub sponsors, Buy Me a Coffee, and Patreon. Yeah, for sure, people can donate you to in other ways also. But what are the platforms that you suggest developers to be if they want to start this path?
I would say GitHub sponsors is the way to go, because everything you build will be on GitHub mostly. Um, if you don't insist on like using GitLab or what was the other thing? Source Hut. That was one other thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember its name. But yeah,
SourceForge, something like that.
no,
No.
it was
Okay.
it has a mountain logo or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, if I remember it, I'll tell. So I would say GitHub sponsors is pretty good, especially if you build stuff on GitHub. If you don't, you can use Patreon, and you can have another one-time donation platform like Buy Me a Coffee, because maybe people don't want to, you know, support you monthly. Maybe it's a one-time thing, so you can have uh, these accounts on Buy Me a Coffee. There was one other one, I think Coffee,
Okay.
KOFI. I don't know. Yeah, Coldberg. Thank you. That's something that I was trying to remember.
Yeah, which okay, yeah, it's based it's a hosted GitLab. Sorry, GitHub, Git. I don't know how do you pronounce it. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
the open source. It's GitHub but open source. Let's say. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what was
Nice.
I
But
saying?
yeah, I have a question. So, for example, I have set up GitHub sponsor. Do you suggest me to also do buy me a coffee or Patreon? So you said buy me a coffee for one-time donation, but people can also do one-time donation on GitHub sponsor. So do you suggest to also set up these other platforms?
Yeah, not Patreon, but because I mean, if you have GitHub sponsors, then I think there's no need to have a Patreon account. But definitely buy me a coffee, because not everyone has a GitHub account, and maybe they just saw your project and they are not active on GitHub, and they just want to give you, help you a little bit. So having those one-time options would be nice. The reason why I have Patreon and GitHub sponsors is that back then, like 3 years ago, GitHub sponsors were not supported in my country, so I had to use Patreon, and then it got enabled, and now I have these two options. And I had sponsors on, I have patrons on Patreon. I had to tell everyone to not, like, I have now this GitHub sponsors. Maybe you want to switch to that. So some people switched. Some people are still supporting me on Patreon. Shout out to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that Patreon also has a fee which is higher than GitHub. So, for example, if I give you $5 per month, you receive less than that. Instead, GitHub sponsors has, I think, very low fees. I don't know if it's zero, but yeah, it's definitely less than Patreon. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the tip. I will create a buy me a coffee. Thank you. And so I have, I think it's the last question regarding economical aspect of open source. This question comes from Roy again, from asked on Twitter. So he says, most people I know in software engineering, at least in India, are solely focused on making money. I would say also in Italy, so it's not an India thing. How do you handle this temptation and keep working on open source? How do you keep motivation to contribute?
It's a pretty good question. Thanks, Roy. So it's the same here in Turkey as well. You have this temptation. You have these skills. Why not go apply for a big company, get fat paychecks, and just live your life as you like? Why not do that, right? But the problem is, when you do that, I mean, I'm speaking for myself. If I do that, I don't really enjoy what I do, and I don't want to work on something that I don't directly see the effects of it. For example, when you work for a company, and you are doing something that is, so let's say you like Rust, right? You work for a company who writes Go, then that's a problem. You don't really enjoy writing Go, right? You go another company, you you write Rust this time, but you build a uh, cryptocurrency. Now that's something that I don't like as well. So yeah, if I had the option to build what I like and get money, then I would just jump right into it. But sadly, I didn't have any options, and it's really hard to find companies like that where you enjoy what you build and uh, you know get earn good money. So yeah, that's something that is I always consider. And as I always say, I learn a lot of things by doing open source and writing Rust, and getting feedback from people. And I overall like the community efforts. So if it is possible for me to keep living like this and not have financial problems, I would take this shot and try my best to do it. But yeah, I know that it is often said that if you don't make money from something, then it is quote unquote pointless. But that's not the point when you're doing open source. So yeah, I hope this was motivational enough. I don't know. What was the
Yeah,
other
but
question? Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, the question was how do you handle this temptation and keep working on open source? How do you keep motivation to contribute? Yeah, I think you answered pretty well. But like I think that even if you find a job you like. And I'm speaking about you, Orhun. I think that even if you join a company that you like and so on, I think you will still contribute to, you will still maintain all your open source projects, I guess, because
Yeah, the
so
company that I was this company in question would be probably about maintaining open source projects. So by default, if this imaginary company exists, then I would be still doing open source,
okay, but it's
getting paid for it.
maybe you do the open source projects of the company, not yours. You don't have a
Yeah,
chance maybe to work on help and the other, for example, minor projects. So, like for example, you have friends that work on something full day, and then after the day, they work on other paid work instead of doing open source, right? So I think maybe this is what you mean also. I don't know. So like say, so if you had the chance to work on Rust, you wouldn't also do Rust open source projects? I don't know.
I would probably write Zig if I'm already
Oh,
writing
I
it.
see. Okay. So you use open source as a way to basically to learn new things and have
Yeah,
fun. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
exactly.
great that's a great way of seeing it. I agree. Yeah, the like I write like it's 3. Speaking about myself, it's 3 years that, or more, I think, yeah, 3 years that I write Rust at my full-time job, but I find the motivation to contribute to open source because I also want to see other projects succeed, like for example mine or other projects I care about, and so I contribute to them because I want to succeed, and also to take breaks to work on something else, because like the thing about having your own project is that you are the only person in charge of it, and so you need to do like documentation, developer advocacy. You decide your deadlines, so you are in full control, and it's really liberating, right? If you say, okay, for 1 week, I want to work on addressing technical debt. I want to work on this useful feature nobody wants, but I find it funny. So I think that working on open source, as you said, it's fun and lets you learn a lot. Yeah, and I also, as I said before, right? I don't see, like, I think there is an indirect direction between working on open source and money, right? Because maybe you have a great open source library, a company notice it, and they offer a job that pays double as you were earning before. I think that as you said, all the companies you worked with, they reached out because of your open source project. So it's not a total. They're not at the opposite of open source and money for sure. Short term, it's easy to make money by taking other contract work, for example. But in the long term, I think that open source can pay off also.
Yeah, totally agree.
And so, related to this, in your blog, which I suggest everyone to check out, it's great. There was an article I found interesting about open source grant set, and you defined the open source grant set as the act of contributing to open source regardless of the circumstances and ignoring the motivating outside factors until eventually making a living of it. Do you want to tell something about this mindset?
Yeah. Wow, that was I don't quite remember what was the definition, but that was impressive. Uh,
They are your
so
words.
yeah, it's a bit hardcore, but okay. So the thing that I was trying to say there was contributing to open source, having this mindset, having this grind set is about um, learning as much as you can and taking your time to follow the rabbit holes that you come across. So, for example, you are working on some problem and you are working on this open source project, and you see that something isn't working. You research that topic and you realize there is a whole different area. And in normal workflows, you just focused on this problem, right? And you don't want to deviate too much. You don't want to derail from that. You just want to solve this problem. But in this open source grind set, what I mean is you follow this path, you you follow the rabbit hole, you go to the source of the problem, source of the issue, and maybe this is a very low level library that is laying around on GitHub. You go there, you read the code, you try to understand what's wrong, you check out the issues, and eventually contributing to this library, this little thing that is not even maybe directly related to your project. So this is what I mean by the grind set. It is for it is basically for not caring about the current things that you need to do, just following the open source path. So if it requires for you to write C, just go and contribute to some C project, and this way you simply become like an open source person who is just contributing to a lot of projects. And this is actually what I do. Um, if I come across some problem, I try to understand what's wrong, and I just go there and contribute to another project if necessary. And I think this is very important in the community because someone else will eventually come across this issue as well, and someone will fix it. And why not? It's you, right? So that was the summary of it. I think it's a long blog post, so you
Yeah.
can go and read
You
about
made
it.
also some examples about some of these rabbit holes you went through. I think that going through these rabbit holes is the best way you can learn something new,
Yeah,
especially in computer science, probably. Like
yeah,
trying to understand everything, understand a problem fully. Don't just stop at the abstraction of your framework and going until the end. Yeah, it's a great it's a great mindset. It's a great grind set, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. So um, I let's also talk about the other elephant in the room apart from the money, which is the commitment, right? That you need to do, especially to maintain all these projects, right? Uh, in general, how do you handle burnout and how do you keep up with it?
It's a great question, and I was thinking of writing the sequel for the open source grindset series, which was supposed to be about the burnout part of it. Because imagine you follow every rabbit hole, you contribute to everything, and it just keeps going. It is very overwhelming, and it can just result in a burnout. So it's important to develop some tricks, personal tricks to handle those situations. For me, I would, um, if I feel like I've been burnt out, I would get distant from the things that I do for a while. Uh, shut myself off a little bit and try to think about something else and do something else. Maybe travel, maybe going to somewhere else helps. Doing something so even though you're burnt out, maybe you still want to do things, and doing nothing is not an option. So in those cases, I do something else completely different from writing code. For example, making music is a great way for me to handle with burnout and such. Uh, and if you really feel like you're not feeling like you cannot do anything, then just do nothing. You know, just give yourself some time. Don't get too attached to what you do. Try to put some distance between you and this thing, and yeah, just spend some time in your personal life. That usually helps for me, but it can change from people to people, and yeah, you need to find the best way to cope with it, I think. How do you
Absolutely.
handle
Yeah.
burnout?
Uh, I use the same trick as you. Uh, if I feel stressed about working on something, I try to do something else. Maybe if I want to keep coding, I start a new project. I work on something else, and yeah, just I remember that nobody pays me for maintaining my software.
Yeah,
So
that's very important
yeah,
to remember.
the important thing is communicating it. So let's say that uh, one person wants a new feature. Um, you 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 say, if you don't have the energy to work on it in that moment, you say, yeah, I like your approach. If PR is welcome, right? If you want to work on it, you can make it happen. I will be happy to review it. Yes, so definitely doing something else and keep your distance from the things that stress you. It's a good thing. Yeah, in general, how do you keep up with the like the noise coming from your open source projects, right? People that open issues, feature requests, um, everything. Yeah,
So let me give an example of that. If you have a Rust project and if you integrated one of the uh, dependency auto bump bots in your repo, for example, Dependa bot or Renovate, you will get daily PRs for Saturday JSON and Clap. So those three are just they have very frequent releases with minimal features, and they usually patch releases. And every day I wake up, go check my emails, and I have like 15 PRs from these bots, three comments on different projects issues, two PRs on whatever, and um, this is just very overwhelming if you look from the outside. But I usually in those situations I usually take things step by step. For example, I don't I break it down for myself. So if I want to work on this specific project, I only want to just focus on that. I don't want to get distracted on the other stuff that I need to be doing. So I set my goal as to finish on working on my own on the project that I want, and it's actually a good thing that you have different options, because working on the same project uh, can be boring after some time, and it's a different way to look at it. But yeah, I just uh, set my focus on something and try to stick to that and follow the rabbit holes on that project, not on the other ones, to not get distracted. But yeah, it is sometimes really hard to keep up with things, especially when you have different projects that you are watching. So yeah.
I can imagine. So you mentioned that you set goals. I'm curious, how do you set goals? How often? For how long? Like, what's the scope of the goals?
The scope is basically if there's a pull request that needs review from me, I set my goal to first do that and not get really distracted. And if it takes 1 hour, it's fine. If it takes 10 minutes, it's fine. I just want to finish that first. So that's my goal. It's not like very long term something, but it's just something that
Okay.
I want to focus.
But like for example, on Monday you set the goals for your week, or at the start of your day you set the goals for your day? No.
No,
You
just
just choose a task and you decide to focus on it,
yeah,
avoid any other distractions. I
yeah.
see. Distractions. Yeah, definitely. Also, you mentioned like the Panda bot. I have another advice to avoid being stressed, which is automate as much as possible. So, for example, for the Panda bot, well, it's you need to first build a test suite that you trust, right? And so when you receive a dependent put PR that updates a library and your test pass, you should be 99% confident that it's okay to merge that PR, right? And so I have a bot that automatically merges the Panda bot PRs if all the CI is green. So, and also in my projects, of course, like I have automatic releases. So definitely, I suggest to avoid at all cost manual tasks, repetitive tasks, stuff that is not fun. Otherwise, you you don't do fun stuff. And personally, I find automating stuff in general funny. So it also gives me joy to find solutions to these problems. Yes. So last question regarding burnout in general. Is there any trick you use to balance your personal life with work and open source? So I don't know, you set time limits to your open source work per week. I don't know.
Actually, my personal life and work slash open source is a bit intertwined with each other. But something that I developed recently is I I now have friends outside of the software world, which really helps. Um, because when you just want to, when you burnt out, you don't want to like discuss your Vim config with your friends, right? So I now have like I expanded my circle a little bit, and I now have more. I don't want to say normal, more outside of software people that I know, which really helps. Like I can talk about some other things and have fun with them. So that's how I balance it out right now. But as I said earlier, doing something different, for example, making music, is also
Mm,
very helpful.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So do you, if I want to keep my friends, you don't advise me to discuss Vim config with them. Okay, I will keep that
Yeah,
in
we can.
mind.
Yeah, we can discuss NeoVim config though.
Okay,
That would be nice.
makes sense. Yes. So, switching topic from open source, since this podcast is called the RustShip, let's talk a bit about Rust. And so there was one question from the chat, which let's see. Coming to Rust as iOS developer, my question is what Rust is most suitable for besides CLIs, or what did you recommend to focus on building? Theory got me hooked, but it's hard because of thread safety. Okay, so the question is what are the main use cases of Rust, right?
Yeah. Um, I mostly build CLI tools, and I don't quite did a lot of on the graphical side, but I think Rust is pretty much supporting any use case at this point from embedded to even network programming. So yeah, um, I think yeah, Tauri is one of the tools that is really good right now, and you can definitely find some alternatives. But yeah, the use cases of Rust can range from graphical user interfaces with Tauri and I don't know, there was one other one, Iced and other
Yeah, I
ones.
think there are many, yes.
Yeah, from that to even on mobile native stuff as well. So yeah,
Yeah, I think there is a website called Are We GUI Yet? Something like that,
yeah,
which lists all the available GUI framework in Rust. I think I haven't played with them, but I think the maturity, of course, it's not at the level of, I don't know, for iOS, like a Swift framework for iOS. So, or I don't know, Jetpack for Android. Mm. So they're not 100% mature, but I see a lot of effort in that area too. So yeah, you mentioned in general desktop applications, embedded web programming. So yeah, for example, I work as a backend developer in Rust. Another one is game development. I see that, for example, Bev is a famous framework for writing game development, but again, I haven't played with that.
there are more game engines than games written in Rust though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if anybody has any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I wanted to ask you. So you are a you package applications both for Arch, but I think also for Alpine lately, right? So
Yeah.
I want to ask, let's say I have a Rust open source project, a CLI. How do I distribute it into these Linux distributions? Is there Are there tools that automate it? What do you use?
It's a good question. Uh, for Arch, I just write the package build myself, but there are a couple of tools that you can automate this process. For example, there is Cargo Deb for creating Debian packages. It's a great tool. Um, for RPM packages, there is Cargo Generate RPM, which is just, these tools just work out of the box. Usually you don't have to configure too much. You just run this and they just give you the package file. There was one for Arch. I think it was Cargo Package Build, but I'm not sure if it's maintained. I don't use any automated stuff for that. So yeah, these tools, you can generate packages and you're basically ready to distribute Linux packages this way. Also, now there are a couple of tools that you can use to easily install binaries on your Linux machine or Windows machine, Mac, whatever. There is Cargo Binstall, which is for binary installations, and it doesn't really require any packaging. You just have to be uh, providing the pre-built binaries on your GitHub releases. For example, when you create a release, you build binaries, you sign them, and you upload to the GitHub releases. And Cargo Binstall is capable of just finding the correct artifact and installing the binary on your system. That's a pretty nice tool. It helps with a lot of automations, and also more distribution oriented. There is Cargo Dist, which is built by Axo. By the way, I'm still waiting for the application. Um, you can check out Cargo Dist for just generating uh, pretty much everything for distributing your Rust project. So yeah, those are the ones that I can think of right now. Simply, there are a lot of things like tools to automate the process, and it's definitely easier to create Linux packages with these cargo plugins or cargo tools, I would say. So yeah.
Okay, so let's say that I want to see my project on their Arch Linux official so on Arch Linux
You
packages,
sent me a
right?
DM. You sent me a
Yes.
DM. Yeah, go ahead,
Okay,
sorry.
it's a pretty easy process. Okay.
Yeah.
But in general, yeah, so you yeah, so you of course you need the approval of somebody that is curating the packages from that from your distribution, right?
Yeah, it changes from distribution to distribution, but for Arch, you can, if you want to maintain it yourself, you can first create a package on the AUR and ask for some maintainer to move it to the extra repository, which is an official repository. On some other distributions, for example, Alpine, which I've been really enjoying recently, you can simply package it yourself and submit the package to them, and it is just creating as simple as creating a PR. So yeah, you can do that yourself. It changes, as I said. Yeah.
From distribution. Okay, cool. Thank you. And so in your blog, recently you are writing some article called Zigbits, if I remember correctly, where you document what you learn with Zig. It's very interesting. And you also published the Zig project called Linux Wave, where I think you mix the passions for programming and music. Is it right?
Yeah.
So uh, I wanted to ask you. Uh, so Rust and Zig are both languages that are low level. So in this sense, they are similar, but I see them also as very different. So I wanted uh, to ask you, how do you compare the two, and when will you use one with respect to the other?
Yeah. So for me, I was interested in Zig because I do a lot of systems programming and low level programming, and I create CLI tools. And Zig was like a pretty good option and pretty performance option for this purpose. So I decided to give it a try and document my every step. So that's why I started this blog series called Zigbits. And it is the topics that I cover range from choosing the right allocator to creating a GitHub Actions workflow to publish your Zig project. So I'm just writing everything I learned basically about Zig, and with um, and when it comes to the Rust versus Zig, I would say that not it's actually not me saying it. It's Andrew Kelly, the creator of Zig, saying that Zig is trying to be, I think, trying to be the successor of C, trying to be better, uh, be a better C. So if I want to write something very low level, and if I feel like I can use C, I would just use Zig. But if I want to like have more stuff involved, for example, networking and I don't know, graphical stuff and stuff like that, I would use Rust. And I think it's not very correct to say that um, you can apply the phrase Zig is a better C to Rust is a better C++, but it is definitely there are definitely like a areas that you can apply this logic. So um, yeah, the the tool that I built with Zig is actually very simple, and I decided to use Zig for that because what I wanted to do was create a wave format encoder from scratch. You know, just I just pulled up the Wikipedia of the wave files, and so that if I write these bytes in this order, then this is a wave file, and this is very low level, right? If I would do that in Rust, there is probably I don't know, 5 crates that I can use. But in Zig, I wanted to use, I just want to write this thing myself. So that is why I want to use Zig uh, on that sense. And it was, as I said, very low level, and I was learning something new. So that's why.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I think that Zig is I think it's great for maybe even low level stuff that is more low level than Rust at some point, because I think it's easier to handle errors that comes from memory allocation. So if you care about that, probably look into Zig. And also think that Zig makes interoperability with C easier. So maybe if you want to make more modern an existing C code base, you can also consider Zig, I think. Yeah, but yeah, in general, learning new languages is always great.
Yeah,
Uh,
and in time, I felt like I've been too I've been too caught up in the Rust plus Arch Linux world that I want to switch to Zig plus Alpine Linux. And I'm very glad of this decision because when you work on something long enough, you realize that some things can get boring, you know. So just every time you feel that, just switch to something new. I would advise.
so you say you want to switch from Rust to Zig, like
No,
one. Okay, so it's both, right? You keep both.
yeah.
Okay, I was worried for a second.
No, don't worry. No, don't worry. It will. Oh my God, it will sound so bad when I say this, but Alpine Linux is like my side chick. You know, it's yeah. I know it sounds so bad, but I just like to learn new things. You know, package some of the applications for Alpine, and Zig is the same. I just enjoy doing something low level. For example, in my last blog post about Zig, I built this HTTP server slash client from scratch, which was really fun. So yeah, if I was doing that in Rust, I wouldn't get that much of joy from it because it's something new uh, that I have to force myself to learn. You know, that's the
Absolutely.
point of open source and learning.
Yeah, and yeah, like when you learn something in another language, you're exposed to a different ecosystem. You learn new ways of working, new ideas that you can bring back into your previous work. And I definitely agree. Like for example, now I'm working on a TypeScript open source project that I will announce shortly, and yeah, it's fun, and it's great for learning. Uh, so we have a question from Roy from the chat. Uh, when you encounter a new issue or a new feature, but you don't know how to do it, how do you learn and solve it? I'm kinda stuck at this stage. How can I advance? The hard question. I will let you answer first.
Um, I would ask ChatGPT.
That's a
Okay,
great answer.
yeah. Um, so if this is about open source, I would ask the if I'm really stuck, I would tag the maintainers of the project and ask them what is what is up with this and how can I move forward. And it usually helps. People are usually helpful about this, and they will show you the right way. But if you're on your own, I would say get help from certain communities. For example, if you're stuck at uh, let's say you're working with vectors in Rust, right? And you just have this value, and now you're stuck with this error message that says you cannot borrow this etc., etc. And you cannot really understand what is going on. And the the most clear answer would come from the Rust community itself. So I would go to the Discord or I don't know Reddit, which one works better for you, and ask them, give them a little snippet of this code, give them the error, and try to understand. But before that, maybe try searching the error message on the internet. So yeah, either get help from the people who maintain the project, or you can just go to the community itself and ask for help.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've seen people who maintain crazy good libraries who wrote books that ask on Twitter what's the best way to do this. So definitely ask for some help. Absolutely, yes. Cool. I just like we talked about open source, we talked about Rust. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you, Orhun, what plans do you have for the future? Do you want to start other 20 new open source projects? What are your plans?
Yes, basically. um, yeah, I mean, I will probably no, I will most likely keep doing what I do because I have so many ideas and I have so many things to work on. So I will keep creating new projects and maintaining the current ones. Plus, I will try to be more active on my blog because I think that's also valuable and that's also helping people. I will try to publish more stuff there, um, and just be more active overall. Currently, I'm not really there's nothing in my life that is taking like too much time of myself, but I'm not really making a lot of money. So I will be pursuing becoming a full-time open sourcer in the future. So yeah.
Nice. So yeah, definitely support Orhun on GitHub sponsors, buy me coffee, whatever. And yeah, if somebody from the audience like is interested in the stuff you're doing in your open source project, is there a way that they can help you with your open source projects?
Yeah, sure. I think the best way that they can help me is that they can check out my current projects, try them out, and see if it works for them. Because that's what I usually do. If I find something interesting, I try it out, and if it's not working for me, or if it's missing something, or if I have this idea, I just go and submit an issue. And I think that's the best way to help. And if they go a little further, they can go into the issues, and maybe there are some issues that they can work on. That would be very helpful. So yeah, just give give it a try to my projects and see if they work for you. I am pretty sure you can find something that is interesting enough because there are like a
So
good
many
variety.
projects.
Yeah. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So follow the rabbit holes of Orhun's projects. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where people can find you online?
Yeah. I'm usually active on GitHub. Um, I've been also active on Twitter, I would say, Mastodon as well. So yeah, follow those two. Also, I have now a YouTube channel, but I don't post too much. I just released the Linux Wave track on Spotify, and yeah, I'm currently using my YouTube channel to announce visual stuff like Linux Wave, other projects, coolnodefiles.com, stuff like that. So yeah, you can find me on those platforms.
I will type your website in the chat.
Hmm.
And yeah, with that, that's everything. Thank you so much, Aaron, for being here with me and discussing it. It was really amazing. I enjoyed it so much. And also, thanks everyone who stayed with us and left some comments. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for this nice podcast, I would say, and thanks for making me the first guest ever.
It was a no-brainer.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Hi everyone. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.